Welcome, everybody, to MC Toon Live. It's a Monday night, not a Toons Day night. I am going to be reviewing a debate that happened yesterday on Modern Day Debate. It was I don't know. It was okay. It was interesting, and I will also be addressing some of the stuff in the after show on Matters Now, which is the channel run by Ozian, who he might even be in the chat here something. So anyway, this debate was, just so you know, it was WItsit and Mercedes against Mark Drysdale and Delcos. I talk to Delcos every once in a while. I don't know Mark Drysdale nearly as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reviewing WItsit's opening presentation. Mercedes's presentation was pretty lame. WItsit actually, he covered a lot of the stuff he usually tries to cover. Well, you'll see. Let's get right into it here.
All right, yeah, I'm sharing screen.
Oh, I'll put that right up.
Cool.
You're good to go.
No surprise, huh?
All right, cool. So there's a basic few questions like, no, the debate's not about why would people think the Earth's flat. That's just a complete red herring. We're deciding if we're trying to discuss if it is in fact flat or a spin.
No, there's a lot of psychology to it. The Earth is not flat. And why do people think that it's flat when it's not? It's a psychology question. So people ponder that, right? It's not the pondering of this debate, really, but the either Mark or Delcos brought it up. It's a good question. Why do you think it's flat, WItsit? It's not.
Spinning globe. Psychoanalysis, it basically equates to poisoning the well.
No, it doesn't.
And that is a fallacy. But so this is
just to be clear, Austin, the Earth isn't flat. There's a lot of psychoanalysis that's owed to flat earthers. You guys are nuts.
As to the motion claim, we can break it up into two fundamental claims, the spherical geometry claim and the motion claim. And they require evidence since they are positive claims.
Yeah, evidence.
Claims. Here's Einstein himself saying that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment after he came across Michelson-Morley, which led him to special relativity.
Yes, and WItsit, this is one of his tactics, right? Somebody mentioned in the live chat here beforehand, WItsit doesn't work on evidence. When he works on preparing for a debate, he prepares tactics for the debate instead of preparing evidence for the debate. And one of his tactics here, did you catch it, was mentioning Michelson-Morley in this, so that if somebody comes around later mentioning Michelson-Morley, he can always say, I already mentioned that. No, the point of this exact quote is this is in reference to Michelson-Morley and those types of experiments, an optical experiment like Michelson-Morley, not other experiments that use light, but optical experiments like Michelson-Morley. We'll get to the end of what he says here, and then I'll get to what Einstein said in reference to movement.
The prerequisite to general relativity. Anyone claiming that they can detect the motion of the Earth around the sun is going against their own belief system.
No. Well, Einstein did.
People will say that this is cherry-picked. I invite one person to actually articulate why, and I would happily discuss it.
Cool. I will gladly show you why this was cherry-picked, WItsit. Because that is from this book right here. This book. Relativity, the General and Special Theory. From Einstein himself right here. Your cherry-picked quote is from chapter 16. It's right in this portion here. But I'm going to read here. You see this little mark there? I'm going to read starting with that mark there. We refer to the yearly movement of the apparent position of fixed stars resulting from the motion of the Earth round the sun, aberration, and to the influence of the radial components of the relative movements of the fixed stars with respect to the Earth on the color of the light reaching us from them. So in that same chapter, just 2 pages earlier, WItsit, Einstein specifically gave 2 examples of how he is certain that the Earth moves around the sun. So to say what you said, when you said, well, let's see what you said. So I don't get it wrong.
We're trying to discuss if it is in fact flat. As I hear often that evidence, since they are positive claims. Here's Einstein himself saying that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment after he came across Michelson-Morley, which led him to special relativity, the prerequisite to general relativity. Anyone claiming that they can detect the motion of the Earth around the sun is going against their own belief system.
No, that's not our belief system. Our belief system is that we can measure it. You cherry-picked Einstein's words, misapplied them to be a general case when he's very specific about what he's talking about. This is about Michelson-Morley. So he gave 2 examples. I will cover them both right now. The actual evidence for them right here, Earth around the sun. I'll give it to everybody. So if anybody runs into WItsit or any of WItsit's parrots, here is the movement of the Earth around the sun measured according to Einstein. Aberration is the first one. Aberration is the shift of the position of stars depending on where they are in the celestial sphere. If they are in the due north or due south pole of the celestial sphere, they have a circular motion of 20 arc seconds, 20.5 arc seconds, or 49551 arc seconds. It's been measured. So here is James Bradley's paper from 1727. It's not been a while, Austin. It's been centuries. Beautiful paper written in fancy old English with, my favorite part is the hard S gets the F looking symbol without the bar. So it looks like a, wanted right there. It looks like a wafted. I'll zoom in. Looks like wafted, but it's not. It's WANSTED. Wanted. So yeah, here, respect. I love typography, and this goes right to that. So there's the one that the movement of the apparent movement of the stars by 20 arc seconds. So the question then to WItsit is, why won't you address this? Because I know for a fact you are aware of this. You do know about this. You won't touch it. The reason why is that all that WItsit and any of them can say, well, it could be explained by the ether. Okay, explain it with the ether. Go ahead. Show how the ether predicts this. And include, of course, measurements to support your claim. If you don't have measurements to support your claim, then it's just a religion.
What do you mean by religion?
A belief system built upon the doctrine of men void of empirical verifiable evidence.
There you go. You'd need verifiable evidence, WItsit. You don't have that. You just make claims, right? So that's number 1. And number 2 is the annual Doppler shift, which is the apparent change in the color of light. Now, this was Vogel and Schneier in 1887, were Germans. They wrote this 300-page book. It's mentioned in A History of Astronomy, page 451. Here's a link to the book right here. And here is the link to their publication, circa 1892, which of course is contemporary to Einstein. So Michelson-Morley was 1887. This was published initially in 1887. Look at that. So when WItsit goes through all of the things that he goes through, and he's like, oh, well, they were uncomfortable thinking that the Earth had a favored position in the universe. And the reason why is very, very clear. There were multiple measurements of the movement of the Earth around the sun. So there's no reason to think that one experiment that based on a hypothesis, if that assumption of ether, if that ether doesn't exist, right, then that's fine. But so to say, well, the ether must exist, well, then you need to provide explanations for all of the other things along with it. And that's the trouble. Of course, the Scientists of the time were not trying to say that the Earth was flat. They weren't trying to say that the Earth was stationary. None of them thought that the Earth was stationary. They all thought maybe there was ether. Ether doesn't help you, WItsit, because they were trying to bring ether in, and some of them trying to keep it alive. In the end, they did not have explanations for it, so they gave it up. It did not persist in the ideas of how things work. Some people still held on to it, of course. That always happens. So those are the two things. Now there are more. There's stellar parallax. Stellar parallax is the shift of the movement. No, now it's important. Hold on. I don't want to get ahead of myself. The stellar aberration is an ellipse that gets formed by stars in the sky. All of them. Every single star has it, and its variation is how the size of the ellipse in the celestial equator. It's a line. At the celestial poles, it's a circle, and everywhere in between, it's an ellipse. You need to provide explanation for that if you think that the Earth is stationary and that somehow the ether is responsible for that. Provide an explanation for how that would work, right? That would involve some sort of math, Austin. I know you suck at math. You're not going to be able to do it. Maybe you can ask somebody else how to do the math. I don't know. But just saying it could be the ether is not evidence. It's just a rough hypothesis. Then the shifting of the color, it shifts from red to blue depending on where you are this is so amazing, where you are around the orbit. So if you are, this is cool, right? If this is the sun and the Earth is moving this way around the sun, right? All the stars that direction, you're going towards the stars that way. Those stars are going to be shifted to the blue. And the stars this direction that you're moving away from are shifted red. The ones that way you can't see very well because the sun's in the way at the daytime. But the stars that way you can see. They aren't shifted. So you get this total shift depending on where they are in the sky, not north-south. North-south, it shifts. It doesn't shift much. It's the east-west, or this direction around you in the celestial sphere. Those stars, this is amazing. Those are shifted one color, those are shifted a different color, and everywhere in between is a different variation of that color. How does that happen, Austin? It's perfectly explained by the Earth moving. It's not explained by anything you have. So those two things, those two constant things, the aberration is every star based on where it is in the sky, by celestial latitude. The color shift is where they are in relation to the movement of the Earth. Now, add in parallax, because parallax is orthogonal to the aberration. So again, when you're on either side of the sun, 6 months apart, in color shift, they're opposite. At one point of the year, a star's position is red shifted, and at one other position of the year, 6 months later, is blue shifted. Parallax is horizontally shifted then. Again, and that's not all stars. That's select stars based on their distance from us. Again, if you're going to claim it's ether, you're going to need to provide a mechanism for that. Tough. Isn't it a line on the ecliptic? So it's within there's different places, right? So the stellar parallax is relative to our position to the sun, in our orbit to the sun. So yes. Anyway, so multiple measurements of parallax. So Austin and others, they will happily cite papers. Here are some papers that you are going to need to incorporate into your hypothesis, test, and then provide evidence for, Austin. And finally, this one here, I'm just working on this one on Ole Romer. So Romer, 1676, even earlier than everybody else here, he measured a difference in the time of Jupiter's moon Io to get eclipsed. So if you see on this diagram here, this on the bottom is the sun here in the center, and that circle is Earth's orbit. Technically, it's an ellipse. At position G or H, the time for Io to become eclipsed by Jupiter when it goes to so B is Jupiter in this, and C and D in that diagram is where the moon gets eclipsed or occulted by Jupiter's shadow and comes out of Jupiter's shadow. The timing of that is very well known, and in 1676 they were down to better than minute resolution in timing that. And when the Earth was far away from Jupiter, there was a delay in that light getting to the Earth. So if you're going to propose that the ether is causing that, again, you need to provide the mechanism for it. So there you go. There's 4. There's more, but there's 4 to get you started, flatties. This is different. This is unanswered for the geocentrists, and they're not going to help you on this one, right? Austin loves talking to the geocentrists because they believe in ether. Geocentrists can't explain these. WItsit, you're not going to hang out with them and get any answers. They're not going to help you because they're not flatties like you are. So let me read a couple things here before I get going too far. Stringer News 1 says, thank Titicaca. Every day ending in R is Tuesday. Like today, for example. Every day ending in R. Awesome. Verillion says, drink every time WItsit makes a fallacy. Oh, the fallacies are coming up. Tim Davidson says, is that a poo signal? I mean, what? Gotta go. What? I don't know what that is. Lord Illuminous Poo, there he is, says, are flirfs stupid or ignorant? It's all relative. Get it relative. Oh, come on, that was gold. Relative, inbreeding? Yeah, okay. Relativity? I don't know. No, it wasn't good. Wasn't gold. Lord Illuminous Poo says, Caleb prompted the creation of a new fallacy, the inconceivable fallacy, when that evidence doesn't mean what you think it means. Oh, that's funny. Now, I want to be clear. I don't put those extra K's in front of his name because that's a different style of racism or of whatever you want to call it that he does not, to my knowledge, support or adhere to. He's very specific. He is anti-Semitic. He's not racist like the triple K's there are. So I think it's maybe a little better because Caleb just likes to collect the L's, is to put a couple extra L's in the middle of his name so that it really reflects the L's that he gets all the time. So there it is. Cal has been a member for 5 months and says, yay, Tuesday. Thank you for that, Cal. Okay. Now I prepared a few things. We're going to get to that pretty soon here, from WItsit. So let's see here. All right. We'll keep going on Austin's stuff.
People will say that this is cherry picked. I invite one person to actually articulate why, and I would happily discuss it.
Just did.
Same thing here. No terrestrial experiment can actually detect the motion of the Earth, which means it equates to a belief system.
No. It does not equate to a belief system. You're just saying that, Austin. Terrestrial means, again, things that don't look outside of the Earth. Terrestrial, within the Earth. So if you look at those 4 things that I listed, aberration of stars outside the Earth, color shift of stars outside the Earth, stellar parallax outside the Earth, and the time of the Io's moon getting blocked by the shadow of Jupiter outside the Earth. None of those are terrestrial experiments. That's the whole point of what relativity made sense of. It's not possible to measure motion without some reference in relation to, right? What motion are you measuring? Motion relative to the sun, motion relative to stars. That's what it's relative to. That's why it's called relativity. So you can't measure without looking to an external reference. Imagine if you were in a car, on a barge, on a ferry going across a lake, and you're sitting in the car, and you're looking at the speedometer of the car, and you're saying, we're not moving because the speedometer on the car is not moving. That's what you're doing, WItsit. You're sitting in the car on the ferry's moving, but you're looking at the speedometer of the car. If instead you turn your head and look out the window, you could see, relative to the shoreline, you are moving. That's what you need to do, WItsit, and that's what it means, no terrestrial experiment.
And it literally cannot be detected.
Yes, correct. Motion cannot be detected without an external reference. That's what he's meaning.
Here he is saying that, Mickelson basically, he actually uses the word proved for all the people that hate that word.
When you're talking in a colloquial sense there, Austin, fine, prove means lots of evidence or really strong evidence. But when you're talking very specifically to can science prove things? No, it cannot prove things in a formal sense. That's math can, logic can, and proof does exist, of course, in baking with yeast and in the purity of alcohol.
That everything on the earth takes place as if the earth is in a state of rest. Another piece of it here was I hear also talk about something electric, and we have to make up all these things with no science.
That's right, no science.
To try so hard to make the earth flat. It's actually the exact opposite, because this right here is just a fact that we have ionization, right? We have equipotential charge increasing from the ground, and it comes down to the surface.
It's not equipotential though, and that's where Austin. I mean, I understand he's not watching my. He's not watching me do these, but it might be good for you, Austin. Maybe you wouldn't make such blunders. So it's not equipotential, it's electric potential. It's not equa. Equa means it would be the same everywhere. It's not the same everywhere. This picture, which you're about to show, shows that it's not the same everywhere. Further, having suggested how we can measure the electric field in atmosphere, we can now continue our description of it. Measurements show, first of all, that the field continues to exist but gets weaker, not equipotential. Equa means equal. It's not. It gets weaker. As one goes up to high altitudes, by about 50 kilometers, the field is very small, so most of the potential charge is at lower altitudes. So, I mean, you could have read this, Austin. This is your citation, Austin. He has it on screen in a second here.
Measurable. We have a downward electric current. Here's how you can replicate that with two physical Gaussian surfaces.
So he pretends like he understands the topic. Anyway, so here's his picture. He seems to have modified it. I don't know why it looks so different. So if we look there, he's got, it's just in his slideshow there. Oh, look at that. The lower left-hand corner has some watermark in it. So maybe he picked that up from some presentation somewhere else, because it's not in here. But this is interesting. I want to read this here. This is on his screen, right? Here's his screen. A grounded metal plate will have the same surface charge as the Earth in figure A, the top one there, right? So you've got this plate. I'll go to this one so it's a little easier to see. Right? You've got that plate there that is connected to the ground. It's going to have the same electrical charge as the ground. Then, if B, that's the top one, if the plate is covered with a grounded conductor, it will have no surface charge. Let's go back to this. So you can see here in this diagram, the plate on the bottom has no charge. The top plate does have a charge. Right? This is important. WItsit doesn't understand this. He didn't read this. It goes over his head. Right? He's not as smart as he wants all of his followers to believe. So pay attention to that. What does that mean? That means if something is touching the ground, and it's, charge, it's going to have the same charge as the ground. And so anything underneath it is going to have no net charge. What's he about to say?
plates that act as the surfaces. And this is what we observe on the Earth. Of course, you can't have this on a sphere. If you put a conductive sphere in an electric field, then you have radial distribution, therefore no uniformity.
That's right. Yeah. Radial distribution, no uniformity. That is what we see. Gets weaker. No uniformity. That's exact. Yeah. I know I covered this before, right? I know if you were here before, you've heard me say this. And WItsit keeps on beating this drum wrong. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't read his own citations.
Quite literally, the field that we have on the Earth, which is a vertical electric field, is impossible on a globe.
No, not at all. He doesn't understand the topic. And this slide is so difficult to look at. So here's the slide here is what he's showing. He's showing this is right here. This top one is the field without anything in the way. And then here it's showing, I don't know why he shows this. It doesn't work well for him. He's showing how a person or and it says a tree or a building that is near the ground, that is touching the ground, the electrical potential will follow it. So within a building, there's no electrical potential. So all of this charge stuff that he's always talking about, his own citation says there won't be any there. Let's see, just to read it here. Does it say it right here? Yeah. There are charges that come from the earth to your head, changing the field. Some of them may be discharged by ions collected from the air, but the current of these is very small because air is a poor conductor. And all right, so this equipotential here, here's the word equipotential. And what he's not understanding is that this equipotential is this plus 300, right? So that there is a 300 or a 200 line, and that line is equipotential. So when there's something in the field, it moves where that line of equipotential is. But as it says right down here, the field is not equal all the way up. It gets weaker. So, yeah, it's got zero power, says Joe Frost.
It's also impossible without a physical Gaussian surface, or certainly can't be replicated, and it's a baseless claim to claim that it is. So here is actually excerpts from Richard Feynman's lectures, and he says right here.
Yeah. 9.2. See that? Right there. You can see that he didn't bother to... He could have typed current, but when he did his find, he just typed cur. And then left them all partially highlighted. Good job, WItsit. Good job. It's interesting. He this bottom part, I'll let him read it.
That there's a current density about 10 microamps per cubic meter, in addition to what we just discussed, which is the potential gradient. And the air is not a perfect insulator. And so because of this conductivity, a small current caused by the electric field of the earth passes from the sky down to the earth. And although this current density in the air is only a few microamps per square meter, there are very many square meters on the earth. So the total electric current reaching the earth's surface at any time is very nearly 1800 amps. The current, of course, is quote unquote positive, and it goes down to the earth with the voltage supply.
Goes down to the earth, you say, WItsit? Why do you say that it goes down to the earth? WItsit doesn't understand electricity very well. I don't know. Maybe I studied it in college a little bit myself. Have a little better understanding of it than he does. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people that understand this a lot better than he does, and he's just talking out his rump. So he mentions the entire Earth, right? That the entire Earth is 700 megawatts. And Darryl Frost, this is good. How can a hydropower station generate gigawatts of power when the energy gravity is only 700 megawatts over the Earth? That's a really good point. A really good point, Darryl Frost, because he's claiming, and when you talk about work in the physics sense, work, how is this very, very weak electrical field able to power a hydroelectric? Hydroelectric is based on that difference in height, right? So we say there's a potential energy because it's lifted to that higher height. WItsit says that the potential energy is due to this electrical charge. Well, the entirety of the Earth is 700 megawatts. But yes, a single power plant can generate more than 700 megawatts. How is that possible? You might even be able to generate 1.21 gigawatts at a power plant. I don't know where that 700 is coming from. It's all right, WItsit.
I have 400,000 volts with a current of 1800 amps. Now, these numbers are actually built upon the assumption of the total size of the globe Earth. So
It's not assumption. We measured it.
that's obviously not even.
That goes to the psychology again, Austin. It's not an assumption. It's a fact. We measured the radius of the Earth. Once you know the radius, you know the area. It's covered in 6th grade usually.
True. The point is that there is measurably a downward electric current on the Earth. So we're not making up science. We're not adding.
Or an upward electric current, as the case might be if you consider the movement of electrons.
To science, we're talking about, hey, in the real physical world, this is what we can physically measure, and we can manipulate this and prove it changes something vector. Space-time is the made-up thing required in that scenario. This is Canigou, of course. This is an observation that can take place 2 different times every year. We know that the sun changes where its path throughout the year, and it sets just behind Canigou on a couple days throughout the year. People go from all around the world. They know they can come and see that they'll see Canigou Mountain in front of the sun on these particular days. Based on the observer point, you should not see the mountains. They should be blocked by Earth curvature.
This is an example of a straw man fallacy. The standard flat Earth argument, there's others, but the standard one, the most common template is that flat earthers say globe predicts, and then a thing that the globe does not predict. Let's call it not globe. So globe predicts, not globe. This observation doesn't match not globe, therefore flat. That's their process. So he has strawman the globe. He has said that there is some amount of blockage on the globe that should happen. That's not what we say. We get to say what the globe predicts. You don't, WItsit, because obviously you get it wrong. So how about you ask somebody who maybe it represents the globe? Maybe you, right? Here's all of the conditions. But don't hide your intention, right? That's the other thing that they like to do. They won't say what they're talking about. They're like, oh, I'm going to ask somebody a prediction for the globe, but not give all the details. So, but the problem is now WItsit, we know what the physics are for reality. And so when you ask a flat earther, well, what does your model predict? They'll say this.
We don't have a model.
That's right, Austin. You don't have a model, but we can actually, people that understand physics, which excludes flat earthers, can say, well, this particular thing, we can extrapolate what would happen on a flat earth. And on a flat earth, this could never happen. The sun, unless it were, crashing into the ground, this is impossible due to the laws of perspective. So Austin, this is a first law of Flerf confirmation here. This photograph is 100% impossible on flat Earth. And it's predicted on the globe. You did the prediction wrong. Standard Flerf, you do the prediction wrong. Stop doing the prediction wrong. Ask somebody that knows.
By a few thousand feet. So the globe Earth model requires you claim that this is refracted. How convenient that refraction conspires with the Earth to make it look like it's flat,
But it doesn't look like it's flat. If it were flat, then the sun could never appear like that. So it does not look like it's flat.
Single day that the sun just happens to set right behind it to give us the silhouette, we can actually see the Canigou Mountains as if they're really just there. I don't know how it would look any different if they were actually there. That's what you would see. But no,
in fact, if the Earth were flat, not only would the sun not appear there, but you would see the land behind the mountains and farther behind, because the land would continue going. You're like, oh, well, you can't see it because the air is too dense, but we see the sun, and we see the sun being partially blocked. Doesn't make sense.
So we have to actually deny our senses, say that's not there.
You deny your senses. The sun is blocked. The sun is partially obstructed. You are denying your senses if you say this looks like it's flat.
So if you believe the globe, you must believe that those mountains are not actually there, and refraction just so happens to consistently on that day make us think the Earth is flat.
Yep.
You brought up tides. These are called tidal nodes. These do not work in your model. I have a Harvard paper that says over a century of failed tidal theories, your model cannot explain.
Over a century of failed tidal theories. Can somebody, I didn't look that up. I think he's mentioned that before. Could somebody look that up? The thing is, WItsit, the reason why I identified the first law of Flurf is WItsit and Nathan. It's them, right? So their citations always contradict them. So no doubt the citation that he's talking about right now will contradict him. So here's what he's probably identified. He's probably identified that the modeling for tides has some imperfections in it. That's science, people. Science is always improving. If it were done, then we would just go home. No science would be done anymore, right? We just sit back and say, we know it all, but we don't. More science will always be done. We'll never have it all. So that paper probably is talking about the precise measurements and predictions of tidal positions. So now there is nothing for flat Earth. So here's his dual standard. This is the third law of Flurf. He thinks that the globe must have absolute precision in predicting tides, and if it doesn't, then everything's out. Toss it all. He has absolutely nothing that he can provide to predict tides. He can't say why it happens. Flat earthers have made lots of claims. They've tried to say that salt water is dielectric. Salt water is attracted to magnets. Salt water something, and all these things about this interaction between water and some electromagnetism of some sort. If that's the case, it would be measurable because there's a significant movement of water. So that needs to be measurable. Where is that? Where is that measurement? Again, you're going to need that because you made that claim. And if you make a claim,
the person making a positive claim has the burden of proof.
That's right, Austin. Thank you for that. So you do have the burden of proof if you're going to say what you're about to say.
Explain the tides, admittedly, and also doesn't move exactly with the moon. It's delayed and not consistent, but you cannot explain tidal nodes. I don't need to replace it.
You do though, because your claim is flat. Your specific claim is flat, so you need to provide an explanation for it.
Although I probably could.
No, that's there. You could not, you pompous jerk. You could not provide it, Austin. You cannot. Austin, using flat Earth. Tell us, when's the next high tide? How high will it be relative to other tides? When's spring tides and neap tides? You can't do anything, Austin. Nothing at all. You're so dumb. So pompous. Such an ego, Austin.
So gravity doesn't even work for that. I'm just going to cover some of the basic fallacies because then we can get into the details, but I would like to prevent fallacies, right? So of course, one of them is attacking the person instead of the argument, which is called a straw man fallacy or an ad hominem fallacy, right?
Now, Austin likes to go over the fallacies he plans to use in the debate before the debate starts. So I have gotten some external examples of him doing all of the things, or several of the things that he's about to go over. So, of course, right on screen, you'll see there's an ad hominem fallacy right on screen there. The irony. Well, anyway, here's WItsit doing an ad hom elsewhere.
Story. There was a crazy psychopath named Albert Einstein.
A crazy psychopath, he said, and that's his refutation of that's his insult, his ad hom to Einstein. Good job, WItsit. Good job.
So flat earthers just don't understand basic science, isn't
Well, that's true.
an example, right? Or poisoning the well, similar. It doesn't even have these fallacies on here. It's kind of crazy, but I remember them. So it's this one.
He just can't get away without bragging about himself.
Is dismissing an argument by asserting the person who made the argument doesn't have the proper credentials. That's called a credentials fallacy.
That's true. And WItsit, to my knowledge, doesn't use that. He uses the reverse of it, though. He uses the appeal to authority fallacy. Here you go. Here's one he just did. People in many fields, many of those that are openly flat earthers, really WItsit. Credentials fallacy there, the other way, that because they're in some field. Of course, who are these people and what fields are you talking about? Is there a university physicist maybe that you're speaking of that's openly a flat earther? How about a long range pilot? How about a celestial navigator? WItsit. How about somebody that plans flight routes? WItsit. That's openly a flat earther. How about a seismologist, a cartographer? Any of those? No? Okay, well, who? He didn't give any examples in this particular thing here, so I'm going to have to assume that he's lying. So, Mandevil says, if Ted Bundy discovered relativity, it would still be valid. Exactly. It doesn't matter who discovered it. It's the evidence for it, and there is evidence for it. You don't want to look at it. You just instead cherry pick quotes for it. Anyway, so we got another reversal, another appeal to authority right here.
So he's a flat earther that used to work for NASA and was stationed in Antarctica. This is a real life person. His identity is verifiable, as is his credentials and his work experience. Worked for NASA, stationed in Antarctica, flat earth.
Yeah, and if you were to ask that person, was there 24-hour light? You'll say yes, and then you'll say, well, between where you were in Antarctica and where the sun is on flat Earth, there was a big portion of the Earth that was in darkness. How is that possible? No explanation that makes sense will be offered.
Right. So you don't have a degree in the subject. I'm mentioning these because you will see that they will come up repeatedly in the debate, and fallacious arguments are invalid arguments. Attacking a misrepresentation of the other person's argument, similar to how Mark called it a pizza. Why don't we fall off the edge of your space? Pizza is literally the example I use. That's a straw man fallacy.
Yeah, good job, WItsit. You are super good at the straw man fallacy. In fact, it's the standard flat Earth argument is the straw man fallacy. Here's another example of WItsit doing it.
You have to see the curvature of the Earth at no further than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Okay, it has to curve at a certain rate. You can Google it yourself. Earth curve calculator. This is not flat Earthers math. This is the globe Earth's models math. Okay.
So no, WItsit, that's not the case at all. It's a straw man. He got that from Oakley and QE. And so the particular formula I'll show you that they're using is this one right here. They went to this page here by Andrew Thomas Young at San Diego State University. The distance to the horizon was exactly what he was talking about. And here is the no refraction calculation. So when you're doing stuff, you start with the simple case. This is the simple case. He says 1.22. This is 1.23. It depends if you round. It's 1.225. So sometimes people round down by just chopping, right? When you should round up by rounding to 1.23, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is the quote: 1.23 miles times the square root of the eye height in feet. This is what WItsit just quoted. No refraction. The simple case. Here, refraction considered simply. Different formula in the simple case. And the formula is not 1.23. It's is it 1.32? There you go. Times the square root of the height in feet. This is for a small amount of refraction, which is not applicable when you're over water. When you're over water, the refraction is higher. You need to take that into account, right? WItsit knows that you need to do that.
Fraction, which we immediately and adamantly claim is always present because there's temperature fluctuation and atmospheric conditions that are consistently affecting what you perceive.
Yeah, exactly. So if you leave that out, then what are you doing, WItsit? You are straw manning. So anyway, then this page goes on to explain variable gradients and nasty complications. These are the things that flat earthers intentionally seek out and then pretend that it's not there and use this one here. They use that. So that's WItsit's example of a straw man. Thank you, WItsit.
It should make you think that if during the debate that one side can only use fallacious reasoning, then
Yeah.
that should make you wonder why
It does make me wonder, yeah.
that is. Argument from unproved conclusion based on the beliefs of a large group of people. Example, 7 billion people believe the earth is a ball, but you think you're right. That's an appeal to consensus or majority or ad populum fallacy. And that is, of course, exactly what we heard when 99.9% of science and people believe that the earth's a ball. That is
All right, well, let's hear. Does he have any ad populum fallacies?
Defendant informs people as to the true nature of the earth and that the scriptures accurately describe the earth as an immovable and fixed topographical plane contained within a firmament. This, of course, is consistent with majority of ancient cosmological interpretations, including the ancient Hebrew people.
Majority of ancient people. Excellent.
There are tons of ancient cosmologies and religions that say the earth is a stationary plane.
Yep, there it is. WItsit using the fallacy that he just announced he was going to use.
irrelevant. Argument that because a perceived authority believes something to be true, it must be true is an appeal to authority. All
Yeah, which is the one that I covered earlier.
scientists agree that the earth is a globe. That is an appeal to an authority and is fallacious. Using ad hominem attacks to preemptively discredit the opponent when on that.
Again, notice the ad hominem on screen. Oh, the irony, WItsit. The irony.
That one, all flat earthers are science denying religious conspiracy theorists, or I don't know.
Well, that's true.
All flat earthers just feel the need to find something that they can pretend that they're smart or important enough to act that they have expertise in something they could never actually have expertise in. And so that they picked this to pretend that. It's a very effective method, right? But it is a fallacy. It's one of the most disingenuous fallacies because you're preemptively discrediting the opponent and then trying to discredit them as a whole or their motivation or
Yeah, it's what WItsit's doing here with that picture.
or psychoanalyze them and group them in so that you can dismiss their points. So hopefully we can avoid all of the ad homs and different fallacies. I mean, I have many more here, but it doesn't matter. And I have Einstein pulling in with this. He said, I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking.
So how is that evidence for something, WItsit? It's cherry picking. It's not evidence.
And you don't have to convince me, Einstein. I know you didn't. So long story short, to wrap it up, we have physical evidence. We can talk about the electric field, debunks the globe. We talk about the long distance observations behind Canada, debunks the globe. The spinning, tilted, wobbling globe is a positive claim. Doesn't matter.
So even the way he says it, spinning, tilted, wobbling, that's the type of fallacy he was just saying that others shouldn't do. So do as he says, not as he does, right?
No matter how many people believe it, you have to verify that that's the case. So hopefully we can actually get to the bottom of it without any type of fallacies or interruptions. And I would appreciate it. I think the people here will probably do a good job on that. So the one question I want answered in this debate, and we'll
Now, I before he asks that, I hit this is all shifted in there. It says Mark and then Delcos, and WItsit is under Delcos there. But WItsit is supposed to be on the far right there, and it's Mercedes above it. But if you see, WItsit right underneath his name says flat. So his position is flat. So he isn't taking the position of not globe. He is taking the position of flat, the positive claim. And what do we know about positive claims, WItsit?
You make a positive claim of specificity, you have the burden of proof of specificity.
There, that's right, Austin. You make the claim that the earth is flat.
You do understand, again, that positive claims require the burden of proof.
Well, I agree.
Positive claims have the burden of proof.
Yes, they do. They do. All right, let's listen to him here.
we'll see if it ever happens. Can you substantiate and verify the globe Earth model is in fact true, void of logically fallacious reasoning?
Yes. Yeah, of course. Can you provide that the earth is flat without using logically fallacious reasoning? And the answer to that, well, we'll find out. In the chat, what do you think? What do you think, people? Is he going to have that? All right, so I have somebody got the link to the title claims. Now, what did he said? He said it's from MIT. So let's see if it's see. Sometimes he doesn't quite know that something is hosted by MIT, that it's not actually from MIT. But we'll see. Or Harvard. He says it's from Harvard. So, yeah. Title model something is a new solution for the amplitudes and phases of the global oceanic tides based on over 6 years. So this report describes some of it. Is that it? The 100 years? Let's see if we have 100 isn't in there. Well, anyway, there's I'll put that in the chat for anybody that wants to read it. I can't look over it right now. But yeah, thank you for that. Dan sent that to me. So, all right. I'm almost going to shift over to Ozian here in a little bit, but this is just this first part. Poor Mercedes.
That's my question. Simple question, simple request. Just one will suffice. Void of logically fallacious reason. All right, thank you. That is it.
All right, thank you. WItsit. Yeah, so that's our opening statements done and dusted. We're finished with those. If you haven't hit like or subscribe yet, then what are you waiting for? And the super chats are coming in nice and fast. If you guys haven't noticed, Modern Day Debate has started to pick up some sponsors. So we are
The problem.
They send
available for you guys to discuss flat versus globe. As long as you guys don't try to overtalk each other too much and you don't start to insult each other, I will just sit here quietly. All right? The floor is yours. Have fun.
All right, I can answer your question. If we have any, universe sandbox, anything that simulates the universe, the galaxy, whatever. And if it works offline and it can predict where the shit will be, sorry, I'm going to swear, I guess, sorry. If it predicts where the shit will be in the sky and it's offline, it's not getting any data, you can do that 10, 20 years and the model works because it's using the model. Like that's all there is to it, right?
So Delco's here. He's making a good point. He says if we can model it, then that and observations match reality, then that model is confirmed, right? Not proven. You take Popper, take even just a little bit down the road of Popper. You need to test it, and if you fail to falsify it, then you gain confidence of it. So he says use Universe Sandbox, which is open source, and you can read it. You can see what model they're implementing if you doubt the model that they're implementing, and if it makes accurate predictions, then that gives us confidence in that model.
If it's not pulling data from somewhere, it's using something to accurately predict it, and that would make sense. So,
what? Okay, let me try to paraphrase that for the room so they know.
This is pretty good. He gets it so wrong. He wasn't listening. I have no idea what he was listening to.
What you're saying. He's saying that basically satellites, they send certain signals and we're able to determine.
Wrong. That's not at all what I'm talking
Well,
about.
then you need to articulate
I said if you have a piece of software like Universe Sandbox.
So I thought Delco's described his position pretty well, and WItsit goes right to satellites. What the hell?
Which is on any person's desktop. You can buy on Steam for $10. If you pull out your Ethernet cable or your internet, you kill your internet, and then you have it predict, okay, where the planets or whatever you want going to be at a certain time, 20 years, 30 years, a day, a week, whatever. If it works offline and you can figure out accurately where it is, then that model is working. There's something in that program that's saying this is where these will be at this time, and it's working, and it's a pattern. And if it's open source, then you know what pattern it's using because it's open source. Like that's
The problem.
Okay. I feel bad for Mercedes. She is just... If you don't like the stereotype, don't be the stereotype. And she's the stereotype.
Problem I see with that, Devin, is so we have things called star maps. They've been used for like thousands of years that sailors have used to navigate where they're at on the Earth. And they could just pinpoint where they were just because of that, which is similar to what you're saying. So it's not really disproving flat Earth at all.
All right. She got some of the details wrong. Thousands of years now. Star maps have been used since the mid to late 1700s to pinpoint your position. Not important how long it was, other than it shows her ignorance of the topic. But all of those things that she just described completely use the globe only, and there's no version of that uses flat Earth. So. First law again.
it's not that you're using it as a map. It's the fact that it's able, if I have something that can make predictions about something like off in another room, right? If I've modeled the dog's behavior in the
Right, but
bedroom
that's what
across
they
the
did.
road. Exactly, that's what
they
I'm saying.
did, yeah.
If I can accurately model it enough, then I know that that model of reality that I've created is
Mhm.
accurate because I can use it to predict
No.
things in the future.
That's
Just
it's
like
incorrect. So it's
Well,
incorrect.
And WItsit right here. All right, so all right. So, Mercedes, you're the stereotype. Here we go, WItsit with you're incorrect. No, in reality, in science, you develop a model, you compute the consequences of that, you compare two observations, compare to reality. And if they match, well, then good. You might have an accurate model, and if they don't, then you don't have an accurate model. Try again. But WItSit's he's denying how science works.
how is it incorrect? How is, if
I'm
I have
gonna-
a
I'm gonna
model that
tell
can
you.
show me in the future without any input given, how is that not a working model?
We could do that. We could do that before technology, and we could do that before people believed in the globe. When people believed
No, you couldn't do that before people believed in the globe there, Mercedes. Is she going to provide an example? Of course not.
the Earth was
Right, but
flat,
that doesn't
the
matter.
Mayans, all of them, they predicted when certain things would be in the sky.
Like what?
Not
Side,
accurately,
certain times.
and that doesn't matter at all because
Okay, first of all,
Tell me when it
it
wasn't
absolutely was accurate. It's still accurate to this day. It's
Yeah.
called the Antikythera mechanism. You can just say no.
we
it
all
doesn't.
know that
Oh my gosh. The Antikythera mechanism cannot predict. Oh my gosh. Come on, WItsit. WItsit, you lying, filthy scum. Show how the Antikythera mechanism predicts these. Right here. Right here. WItsit. Let's find it. Total solar eclipse, April 8, 2004. How does the Antikythera mechanism predict this? How do Saros cycles predict this? This path of totality, WItsit, that's what I'm talking about. The time that it will be present, the time that the eclipse begins, the time of peak totality, the time that the eclipse ends, all four contact points, the location. None of that by Saros cycles, none of that by Antikythera, and not the astronomical clock in Prague. You lying, filthy scum. That's the problem. WItsit knows that it can't do it. Austin, you know the Antikythera mechanism cannot do this. But you keep saying it because you need to say it to fool your gullible followers into paying you to say it again. That's why you keep saying it, WItsit. That's why you keep saying it. Show me how the Antikythera mechanism does that. You can't. You won't. You know you are lying.
that's not a thing with
Bro,
no, that
you
doesn't
said
work.
you weren't going to interrupt.
Well, you
and
said you
both
weren't gonna
times-
lie.
Hold
We're
on.
not gonna
I'm
lie.
out. Hold on.
Who interrupted? Let's go check who interrupted on this one here. It was Delco and Mercedes.
If I can accurately model it enough, then I know that that model of reality that I've created is
Mhm.
accurate because I can use it to predict
No.
things in the future.
It's
Just like
incorrect. So it's
Well,
incorrect.
how is it incorrect? How is, if
I'm
I have
gonna-
a
I'm gonna
model that
tell
can
you.
show me in the future without any input given, how is that not a working model?
We could do that. We could do that before technology, and we could do that before people believed in the globe. When people believed the Earth was
Right, but
flat,
that doesn't
the
matter.
Mayans, all of them, they predicted when certain things would be in the sky.
Not
at certain
accurately,
times.
and that doesn't matter at all because
Okay, first of all,
Tell me when it
it
wasn't
abs-
Delco said because. More coming. WItsit jumped in.
absolutely was accurate. It's still accurate to this day. It's
Yeah.
called the Antikythera mechanism. You can just say no.
we
it
all
doesn't.
know that's not a thing with
Bro,
no, that
you
doesn't
said
work.
you weren't going to interrupt.
Well, you
and
said you
both
weren't gonna
times-
lie.
Hold
we're
on.
not gonna
I'm
lie.
out. Hold on. We're a few
You have
minutes
to
in.
interrupt.
We've
It's
all
the only way
two
that
minutes
Glover
a
can-
million
Hold on,
times. Go
Delcos.
ahead. Sorry.
We're 2 minutes in.
I'll mute.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the only way Globe Earthers can
We
debate.
we
bro.
love the energy.
The irony, WItsit, that you started the he said because, and you jumped in.
Well, I don't like
We
lying.
love- hold on. When I'm talking, nobody's gonna talk. Okay. We love the energy, but if you're gonna come hard, they're gonna come hard back. Let
I'll
them
come
have
hard.
the chance to. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
WItsit, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I asked for
So now will WItsit be providing the mechanism, the prediction based on Antikythera mechanism? Of course not. He said it. His gullible followers will buy it. And then he doesn't touch it again.
evidence that verifies and validates the globe Earth model void of logically fallacious reasoning. And he said, I can answer your question. And then he invoked a mathematical model, assuming that the Earth is a sphere.
That's how you do it. That's how you develop a model. That's not a fallacy to use a model. It's necessary to use a model.
Built upon the cyclical nature of things like the sky and the planets, and then said the fact that it continues to acknowledge the cycle that hasn't changed for thousands of years proves.
Hold on a second. Hasn't changed for thousands of years. WItsit. When did the eclipse go across Texas in this exact path in the last thousands of years? It never has. This is unique. Yeah, we'll have to see if that's the case. But of course, we can look in here to see that it has accurately made predictions in the past, like the one from October. This one in October was accurate. People saw this eclipse. And not only the path of totality, but the amount of the eclipse. It's an annular eclipse, a ring of fire eclipse. That was predicted. You need to know the distance from the Earth to the moon and the Earth to the sun in order to predict that. You can't even say the distance of the Earth to the moon in any rough terms for flat Earth. Anyway, then the total solar eclipse, again, you need to know the distance in order to know its angular size. You got nothing, WItsit. Anti-Cathair doesn't have any angular size of the moon in it.
Proves that his presupposed globe model is true. It's affirming the question, reification, affirming the consequent, reification fallacy.
No. It's just how science is done. Right? Positive evidence for something he is calling a reification fallacy. That's the problem, WItsit. You reject all positive evidence for things as a reification fallacy. You have to, because everything contradicts flat Earth.
And begging the question, which is informal. Those are multiple fallacies in one, certainly not one void of logically fallacious reasoning. So I guess the question is still on the table. Do we have an actual piece of substantial evidence to validate the globe void of logically fallacious reasoning?
Yes, if I have a single model that works and can make accurate predictions without any outside anything, then it works. It doesn't matter if we could do it in the past less accurately or more accurately, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant. If I have this model on my phone and the phone works and it can track the shit, then it works. And that's all there is to it. There's
Can
no
I ask you a
other
question, bro?
argument.
Oh, another interruption from WItsit.
Go.
What if you have two different models that both can accurately predict something? Are they both simultaneously true?
They both can be potentials. But the problem, WItsit, is your hypothetical doesn't exist. There is no flat Earth model that predicts any of these things. So that's what we keep asking for, and you keep failing to provide. So, String News wants as if there's any doubt that MDD takes sides. Well, I'll say this. In the debate with Ozzy and Caleb, James did it. I thought he did a better job moderating that than any other debate I'd seen. And he put Caleb in his place a couple times. And Caleb now won't go back to modern day debate because he felt a little butthurt because he got moderated. So PJ Tony says there is an approximate repeat of the lunar solar cycle every 19 years called the metatonic cycle, and a rough repeat of eclipses occurring every 57 years. Yes, rough. You're right, yeah. And the pattern in the cycle will look something like this. All right, it looks something like, here's the 2024 here coming up. But a different position on the Earth, and of course the amount of totality and the timing and all that stuff doesn't repeat. So there's cycles that are, kind of a repeating pattern, but it doesn't tell you where it's going to be. It doesn't help you. You don't know where to drive on that day. So, but it's a good point, Tony.
Well, they would be used for different things. They would be true within the use case that you're using them in, right?
Both
if I'm using an
models
right.
Oh, another interruption from WItsit.
If I'm trying to accurately model Mars better, right, and see more detail where it's going, so I'm trying to land there, I'd have a specialized fine-tuned model for that use, right? I wouldn't use Universe Sandbox.
Oh, another jump in there, WItsit.
Let's say you have two models.
They're wrong.
let's say you have two models that make fundamentally opposite claims, like they're contradictory. They don't make the same claim, but they both can make a prediction. Are
Right.
they both true?
What model are you talking about, WItsit? You just making up something? You're just this hypothetical model that you think exists somewhere? It doesn't exist. But to your point, it's a good point, and I'll say this. Say you had two models and they're dramatically different and they both predict the same thing. And then you go test that thing and that thing happens. Which model is correct? Both of them are candidates for correct. Neither have, if you're just looking at this one particular thing, neither have been falsified. So you do another prediction and see if one or the other or both gets falsified. And then another, and then another, and then another, right? And if the basis of the models are dramatically different, fundamentally different, then at some point they're going to diverge and one's going to be falsified, or both are going to be falsified eventually. Or one will not be falsified. But, your simplified case there that you're building here, this kind of a red herring, because you don't have one of those models, WItsit.
Is the prediction right?
In both scenarios, yes.
Well, then you'd have to show an example where both models could be completely different, because I've never seen that. If you could show that example in reality, then sure, but you can make up a thought question about anything you want.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is there a pink unicorn and a purple unicorn? Would the pink unicorn stab me first?
It's easy,
I don't know.
WItsit.
I've never seen a
Let's
pink.
see it.
You can't make that assumption. You can't say we have two different models that are completely different, but they have the same result, unless you're talking about something specific. But you could have overlap, right? You could have meshing, or you could have some sort of weird little gap where they kind of mesh, like with your mirror. Sorry, I need water. When you're merging an LLM, you have things which are models. You have things that split and they build together.
Delco's
and you can have meshes. So if you have two models that are different, right, they can have overlaps and they can work on the same things. It's not like your question is just, it's not even stupid. It's just wrong. It's just
you didn't answer the question. It's okay. You can't answer the question.
That is the answer. The answer is I have a model. If I put it on a hard drive, I have now a physical model that is ones and zeros, that is alignment of little magnetic particles on my disk. It is a physical model that exists that I can use to predict the world. It's not a non sequitur. It's a physical thing, because you like physical thing. This was a hard drive that stores a model of the Earth that we can use to accurately make predictions offline on its own. That's all you need.
Real fast. Try to let me respond. I don't want it to be like just me and him dominating the debate, so I want to make sure we let.
Oh, well, you're losing, so you're trying to dip. Wow.
No, dude.
Sad with it.
You've interrupted
You're only
every
4
time
minutes in, and you are chirping it.
Poor Mercedes. I mean, she didn't bring anything to this, so whatever. But yeah, WItsit's gonna dominate this. I don't know why does modern day debate try to get these 2v2s? I think it's I don't get it. Especially if you've got somebody that you know is gonna dominate. Right, WItsit's going to dominate. So why not just have Mercedes and somebody else? I don't know.
All right, try not to interrupt me. How about that? So, and I want to make a point to the audience. Globe Earthers always have to interrupt the conclusion of.
Oh, cry! Oh, poor victim, WItsit. Poor victim. Again, a couple times I've identified you interrupting WItsit. That's just standard WItsit. Every time he's in a debate, he interrupts people and then cries that he gets interrupted.
The opponent's position, because that's the only way that they can stop the truth from getting out there. But I'm going to address your point, and then we're going to let other people also speak. That was my point. I don't want to just dominate the debate. That's the vibe so far. So, okay, I already pointed out that is logically fallacious. If you have a model based on a presupposition, so let's say the Earth.
All models are presuppositions. That's the point. That's what you're testing.
A sphere. I'm going to model it. What am I going to use to model it? The data that we've observed in the sky for thousands of years. It keeps repeating in a cycle. I can use whatever model I want to. I'm going to assume it's a sphere. If I then make it a sphere, reverse engineered off of the sky, and then I say, hey, look, the model matches the sky. Of course it does. That's affirming the consequent.
No, it's not. That's how you do science. Science isn't arguments and affirming the consequent fallacies. That doesn't count in science, right? So now, and this is important, the structure of a hypothesis. If P, then Q not therefore P, right? Q, therefore P is still possible, right? The other way, the falsification is if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P, right? So the hypothesis is wrong. So you can put into the hypothesis whatever you want. You're going to have some assumptions in there because you're testing something. So take all the data from the sky, take a whole bunch of assumptions, dump it into your hypothesis. That's your model, is in there, right? And then make a prediction on it, Q. And then if Q is true, P wasn't proven. And so that goes to what WItsit said earlier about proof, right? Science cannot prove P to be true. It can just find that it was not falsified. And when you've done that many times, then you have more and more confidence that P is correct. That's the point. So if Delcos were to say, and he didn't state it this way, that therefore P is proven, therefore it's proven, and you can't, well, but WItsit does that all the time. That's the problem, right? He will use this exact model, this exact template, to declare a proven thing.
Begging the question and a reification fallacy, treating it like it is in fact true. Your argument is if a model works, it must be true. Now, this is the
if a model works, it's evidence for it, WItsit.
Funny part, you're not going to keep that same energy when I start pointing out how you're not allowed to, which is, of course, I can show you the electromagnetic nature of gravity from Constantine Mice. He gives you
you know what Constantine Mies did? Oh, I didn't switch to it. You know what Constantine Mies did? He made assumptions. He did. He made assumptions. WItsit, you must not accept the paper from Constantine Mies. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it's a paper where he tried to equate mass-to-mass attraction as having an electrical component to it. Of course, the paper agrees that mass attracts mass. WItsit doesn't get that. It's a first law of Flerf. No part of that paper supports WItsit at all. Nothing at all supports it. Right? If it's true, if that paper is good, it's not a good paper. But let's take it at its face value for a second. Then mass still attracts mass. It doesn't help you, WItsit. But it is a model and it has assumptions in it. And so all of those things that you were just complaining about, you just referenced to support your position. You don't even understand what you're doing, WItsit.
you the value for big G and little g and equivalence with electrostatics. It completely makes all predictions that quote unquote gravity does, but claims that it's electromagnetic. You have Newtonian gravity can
So it claims it's electromagnetic and still mass attracts mass.
Also make similar planetary predictions, and you have Einsteinian gravity. Fundamentally contradictory and opposite theories cannot both simultaneously.
Newton and Einstein aren't fundamentally opposite. They're compatible with each other. I know that he doesn't see. He won't watch what I do. I get it. I can't expect that. But right here, Einstein's quote, "No one must think that Newton's great creation can be overthrown in any real sense by this or any other theory. His clear and wide ideas will forever retain their significance as the foundation on which our modern conceptions of physics have been built." That's Einstein right there. Link right to it. I'll give you this page here. Further, here are four references of Einstein's field equations being compatible with Newtonian gravity for specific cases: low mass, low velocity. So
Be true, that would violate the law of non-contradiction, the literal first principle of logic, the literal first one. So no, of course, the answer is even if two models both get the same prediction, if they make contradictory claims, they cannot both be true.
Yeah, they can't both be true, but you haven't yet cited one that makes predictions accurately, WItsit.
That is the answer. So the table is still on the table. Do you
I
have?
feel like you're being deliberately dishonest now, because I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I don't care what other thing you have. In this isolated incident, it doesn't matter what other thing we're predicting. If I can predict the motion of a planet, and nice diversion, by the way, you're not going to change topics. We were talking about this model. If I have a model that I can use offline right now, it's offline, it's sitting right here. How is it not an accurate model of the universe?
Okay.
Jason Roel says, I'd love to see another debate between MC Toon and WItsit. MC Toon has so much he's ready to pull up and just destroys WItsit's claim. WItsit won't debate me. WItsit has said he won't debate me. And Flat Earth Dave has said he won't debate me. Dubé is scared to hell of me. Mark Sargent won't debate me. You know, when they're scared to debate me, I take it as a high compliment. All right. WItsit won't debate me because he knows that I have all of his stuff ready to go. All of his claims, I can just, you know, when he talks about electromagnetism, I can go after it. I could talk from a position. I've read all of his citations. I've read Feynman's paper there. His paper is his electromagnetism in the air, the whole page. I've read all of that, WItsit. I did study that topic a bit, and by a bit I mean it was my major. So I have the background in it. WItsit, you don't even understand the basics of it. Not even a tiny bit, WItsit. Because if you did, you wouldn't claim those things, because in an electrostatic field, as you say, with an increasing positive charge as you go higher, a negatively charged item will accelerate up, not down. Right? And a positively charged item will accelerate down in relation to its charge. But everything on Earth is accelerated down in relation to its mass. It completely violates all of your claims, invalidates your claims. So, Dirtbike says Iggy. Oh my gosh, Iggy can't do math. Poor Iggy. Iggy emailed me in November. My goodness, what a dummy. Hi Iggy. I think he watches these because he doesn't comment. I don't think he's blocked. If you see him, don't block him. Iggy, if you're watching, comment. Maybe he doesn't watch live. Anyway, then Aaron Reese says the term proof stems from Latin proba, meaning test. Sometimes flurfs never do. They can stuff their proof. All right, we'll do a little more here. I think I heard Mercedes trying to jump in.
Okay,
Right.
Devin,
How is it not?
I can answer
Go
that.
ahead.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
How it's not is because how long have we had computer technology in the modern world?
It doesn't matter. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so precious. She is the stereotype. Oh my gosh.
How long have we had it
50
for?
years, maybe. Maybe good computers
Okay.
worth using, maybe 50 years.
Yeah. And in that 50 years, not only have they predicted a few times that certain comets and certain things would like come and hit us, which didn't actually happen.
What? Comets would come hit us. Oh my gosh. So precious, being the stereotype that she is.
Right.
So they've gotten things wrong. But also, if it's only been 50 years, how is that an equivalent to proof?
It doesn't matter how long it is. If it makes predictions and it's 1 year old, it's accurate, then that's confirmation. But the eclipses, time, location, totality have been predicted for much longer than 50 years. It was done on paper. All right.
When you had thousands of years of people using things that what we like WItsit and I were talking about.
No, you don't have thousands of years though. That's the other thing there that stereotype doesn't get. What for thousands of years has been used to predict positions ahead of time? You know, the line of totality. Nothing. What for thousands of years has used the positions of the stars to get the positions of yourself on the surface of the earth? Nothing for thousands of years. You've been able to get the latitude, That's just one. But of course, that latitude relies on a little geometry that doesn't help flat Earth. So,
like not just star maps, but also them creating things of when the sun would actually go through the holes and you'd see it through the shadows.
whoa, what? Them creating things that the sun would go through the holes and you'd see them in the shadows. What the hell is that, Mercedes? Oh, Stonehenge? That's not a prediction there, Stereotype. Those aren't predictions. Those were straight observations. Oh, look, on this day we saw this. Oh, my goodness, Stereotype, you're so precious.
They would know when the eclipses would happen and that sort of thing. And maybe it wasn't always 100%.
No, they didn't know. They just got the rough day. And maybe they didn't know 100%.
Accurate. I've never seen where it hasn't been accurate on that model. But if this has only been around for 50 years.
People have been making eclipse predictions for centuries, all based on the globe.
How does that prove anything? Because these cycles usually last like a long time, according to your science too, especially. So how does that prove anything?
So, I mean, so first off, I guess I use the example of like a pinhole camera.
Oh my God. All right. I want to jump over to Ozian's debate. WItsit and Stereotype came on Ozian Matters Now to discuss there. So I'm going to pull that up. I've not watched just a few seconds of that one. So let me read a couple things before I do that. We've got Frigid Point 4 says, according to WItsit's Electro BD claim, shouldn't we float inside a Faraday cage? He says, and this is funny, he says inside a Faraday cage isn't 100% perfect. Well, yeah, you're right. It isn't 100% perfect. But you know what is possible? You can actually reverse the electrostatic field. So you don't need a Faraday cage to reverse the electrostatic field. Now, if that electrostatic field is 100 volts per meter, all you would need is more than 100 volts per meter the other direction in order to reverse the field. So 101 volts per meter with the negative up high and the positive down low. And that would reverse the direction. You could then test your hypothesis, right? WItsit as a model. He's made assumptions. He has a model. You could test that model by reversing that. In fact, I've done that. And spoiler, I won't tell you. I'm not going to tell you what it... You already know. You do. So in a Faraday cage, it would be significantly easier to reverse that electrostatic field. You wouldn't need 100 volts per meter. In fact, according to Feynman, his reference inside a house, you don't need 100 volts per meter because according to Feynman, that is basically gone. But yes, you're true. It is true that it's not 100%. The problem is, though, all that it gives you is the direction. Best case, it gives you the direction. It doesn't say anything about magnitude. And so you know what he says about magnitude? He says buoyancy and density. That's it. Those words. He just says buoyancy and density. Hold on a second. Buoyancy and density doesn't explain 9.8 meters per second squared downward acceleration. Doesn't explain that because buoyancy is up and density doesn't have a direction or anything. It's not a force. So it doesn't help. Then he'll talk about kinematics. He'll say, with kinematics. Well, kinematics is a way to measure it, but it doesn't address the force. It's how you could measure it. You can say, okay, well, we drop something at height A and at height B, or A1 and A2, A0, A1, whatever. They were at different velocity 0 at the top and velocity blah at the bottom, or time at the bottom. And so you could use kinematics equations to measure the acceleration and get 9.8 meters per second squared. But it doesn't tell you why. We want to know why. Not that it happens. We know that. Midnight Smoke says, I distinctly remember hearing WItsit say 100 amps per meter before with absolute confidence. Of course. Oh my gosh. CV McCullough says you need an alter ego for Discord they don't know. Yeah, that's sometimes I want to like jump into and just listen to them on, but I can't because they'll see me there and I'm like, I have, and then they'll start to talk to me. So I have my ways. Thank you, CV McCullough. I have my ways. Shh, don't tell anybody. Shh. Bob says, thanks for the review. I couldn't stand to watch alone. I'm glad to have you, Bob. You're never alone. You're never alone. All right. Leroy Jenkins update. Unemployed Austin is still jobless. Apparently he's also been demonetized. Anyway, all right. Let's see here. We're jumping to all right, here it is. Here is On Matters Now. And we've got already, if you look at the screen there, you see Ozian in the top left. Sorry, Ozian, you put yourself in the top left. Speaking of top left, I hope you're around tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. Just so you know, just so you're thinking. Anyway, then 3 over and then down 1 is, that is, I think, Stereotype down there. And on the bottom row on the right there is WItsit. So we're about to hear WItsit talk. Before that, though, Brenda says, MC Toon, we have a debate in chat between Tony and Mercedes. Bring them both in. So is this is a different Mercedes, though, isn't it? This isn't Stereotype. Mercedes F1 fan. Tony says, how does the geothermal energy drive atmospheric tides? Why does the length of day vary in response to tidal forcing? Oh my gosh. Mercedes F1 fan says, my equation works as I apply planar geothermal activity to explain tidal movements from planar energy density. An equation? A testable claim? Oh yes, definitely. You want to come on. My email address, mctoon@mctoon.net. So let's see. All right. I'll check. And if and Tony, if you're up for that too, otherwise I can try. I'll try. I'll try to handle it myself. But yeah, I don't think this Mercedes is the same. That was her name. Is it Mercedes F1 fan? Are you indeed Stereotype from the debate? Is this you? That'd be amazing. But yeah, let me know if you are indeed Stereotype from the debate here. So Aaron Reese says, I doubt Mercedes had any actual fans. So yeah, it is in fact Mercedes. All right. Well, here we are. We have moved over. We'll have a listen here.
It was like 15 minutes. What about you, Witsit? What did you think about your interlocutors there tonight and your own performance and Mercedes' performance?
I think Mercedes are great. Yeah, I think that one of the reasons I don't like 2v2s is because what normally happens is they find a way to try to, because this never happens the other way, where they'll try to like corner a specific person. Like, so they'll try to corner Mercedes and go 2v1, and you'll never see a flat earther asking the Globers, be like, no, I was just asking him, you don't answer, as if they're scared the other guy might have an answer. So let's prevent them from answering. This is my opinion. Because then what happens is I feel the need to kind of overcompensate to call that out or whatever, and then I feel like I end up dominating. I try not to do that, but
1 second, 1 second, Witsit. Show notes. Dr. J, I'm going to remove you from the backstage for now. We have Mark Drysdale coming. Unless you have something to say, put a finger up, and I'll. Okay, thank you, Dr. J. So, go ahead and invite Mark Drysdale up. I don't want to ban you. Oh, sorry, Witsit. Go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of a weird tactic. Like, if I ask a question to the Globe side, if it's a 2v2, it's a team thing. Like, if either person on that side has an answer, that's cool. I would never be like, well, I think this person probably can't answer it as good as that one, so let me stop that person from answering, right?
So I haven't I haven't watched the debate any farther than I just did. So the question now, I'm thinking, were Delcos and Mark specifically trying to get Mercedes to answer thing and not have Austin answer things? Is that what he's saying? And then WItsit jumped in to White Knight for her. Is that right?
I think that that's kind of weird. I don't like 2v2s because they're very difficult to stay organized. But the only time I would do that is if someone made a specific positive claim, I would ask that person to back it up. But anyway, that's the only that's one of the main beefs I have with how most of 2v2s go. But yeah, I think that
and on that, I'm with you there, Austin. I don't like the 2v2. It does seem to be a little more for show when it's 2v2.
His name, Delcos or whatever, he was clearly very interruptive and overly aggressive at the beginning of the conversation and kind of took the tone in the wrong direction. But other than that, I think it eventually kind of chilled out. I think it was pretty well moderated. And yeah, I think it was overall pretty decent. I think that these debates need to move towards specific predetermined topics because there's so much information that it's impossible to have like a fully productive debate unless
I would love that. I would love to see WItsit be tied down to one specific topic that the other people knew ahead of time, because he'll just pull out something that they're not ready for, right? That's his tactic. He'll just chuck out a bunch of stuff. He'll just make a bunch of claims about what Einstein said. And if somebody knows what's going on, they can just say, oh, well, I just know that Einstein didn't say that, or I understand the background behind it, or just read. I can just read what Einstein said himself and see that you're misdescribing what Einstein's position was. So, if I remember, Mercedes F1 fan is a Poe. I think that's the case in the chat here. And Yahooligan says, for 2 Canadian, I was the moderator on the debate. So you are, let's see, Justin. Is that right? Well, good. So, all right. I like this. Do you guys think Globers won that debate? I didn't, like I said, I haven't watched any more than I just did. So I don't know if, the debate tactics done by Globers versus the debate tactics done by WItsit were good or not. WItsit and Stereotype. But the Earth is a globe. So I do know I did see WItsit's presentation of evidence claims for the Earth being flat, and none of it was actually Earth being flat. It was the same template. It was, like I said, globe predicts, not globe. Therefore, or globe predicts, not globe. Observation doesn't match, not globe. Therefore, flat was one of his. The other is claiming that there has to be some sort of a Gaussian surface and it's impossible on the globe, which is not true at all. He claimed that the electrostatic field is equal everywhere. Not true at all. And then I forgot. You know what? I want to get back to. I'm going to show you this. He had this picture here, right? Remember this picture? This picture right here. He actually put that on screen, right there. You got that plate, and he tried to use this. He's like, this is a physical Gaussian surface. Now, if you ever did the actual work, the actual in the book work, and actually did the study, a Gaussian surface is a hypothetical thing. It's not an actual thing. You take the surface, which is an irregular surface, and then you take the integral of it so that you can do just an infinitesimally small point of it to get the charge and the forces at that particular point. All right, that's how you use a Gaussian surface in the actual application of the physics. But he's saying that it's a physical thing, right? Because he got caught. He said Gaussian surface over and over and over for months, and then somebody pointed out to him that when you're doing modeling of a Gaussian surface is not a physical thing. But anyway, so he brings this up because he's trying to cover his tracks there. But the problem is on flat Earth, you've got you've got that that second picture there, B, picture B. You've got the ground, the bottom part of that. That's the ground of the Earth. And that top one, if you have that top plate that's also connected to the same ground, then the electrical potential between those two plates is zero. It's zero. We can read it right here. A grounded metal plate will have the same surface charge as the Earth. Now, this isn't talking about the flat Earth, the Earth being ground, right? If the plate, that's A. B, if the plate is covered with a grounded conductor, it will have no surface charge. So on this one here, that top plate is the dome. That's the dome WItSit's talking about. He thinks there's a physical dome, a physical Gaussian surface. But his citation here says no, there will be no surface charge. There will be no electrical difference, no electrical potential. It doesn't match, Austin. You kind of shot yourself in the foot there, buddy. With this one here, he had that. Remember, he had that in his presentation there. Austin, always shooting yourself in the foot. All right.
It's kind of limited. The idea of flat versus globe is very wide, broad topic. But yeah, I think it went pretty good. I think that they maybe could have done better. Certainly, Delco's was very interruptive, but yeah, that's my opinion. I could have probably done better at times too, not taking the bait.
Yeah. I think he did better in his first debate with you, actually, even though he was sort of focused on one claim with like the satellites.
Oh, this is funny. Sly Sparkane for €6 and 66 European pennies. Says cornering happens on all platforms. Well, yeah, it happens just in the. Somebody makes a claim, I'm going to insist that you support that claim. I might even play this for you if you make a claim.
You have the burden of proof of specificity of your specific claim. So you can't shift the burden of proof. That's called a shifting the burden of proof fallacy.
Thought he was done. Anyway, and Slice says flat earthers do it more when they actually get to talk to a woman. Yeah, I mean, I think the flat earth. I'm just guessing here, but I think you've got a disproportionate number of lonely guys in the flat earth movements. Not all of them. But it's a bit of a stereotype, isn't it? You might even say incel. Thank you, Sly. CVM Color says Austin uses false dichotomy and Kafka traps while feigning superiority. He read Roberts and Bennett. His stance is disprove nothing constructive. Absolutely. That is 100% what he does. He says it all the time. He says that falsification is independent of reproduction of falsification is independent of something else, right? So he's always talking about falsifying the globe, but it is the false dichotomy, right? He never presents evidence for flat, or he tries every once in a while, but it never is. That's his, and that's super common of all flat earthers now, right? Especially in Discord flat earthers. That has been for a long time, has been their thing. Well, I don't claim that it's flat. I just say it's not a globe. Well, that's still a positive claim, and try to do that without a straw man. Good luck. WItsit, String News One says WItsit mentioned parallel plates. I think he's describing a capacitor. Yes, he is. He is, but his diagram is not a capacitor. This is his diagram, and he's talking about the ground. And so the firmament has to sit on something, on the ground. Does it not sit on the ground somewhere? It's the firmament. Does he think that the firmament is a dome? Or does he think that the firmament is an infinite plane somehow magically being held up? Don't know. He won't say because he knows he'll be instantly falsified. Aaron Reese. Flurf men are lonely because they're terrified of large round objects. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I while I'm not talking about this for a second, Shifty Eyes is Shifty Eyes Shady is here, is a moderator because he had been blocked, and Shifty is not a Glober. Says he's not a flat earther. I don't know exactly where he is, but he or she, I think he. So I unblocked, and then I said, well, I'll do this. I will make you a moderator so you don't get blocked again. So I've been talking on Twitter on and off with him, I think. So anyway, I don't like it when unless they're being really vile. I don't want people to be blocked on here, or even have their stuff deleted unless they're 33. 33 gets it. If he shows up, it's whack-a-troll. So, is it Serena's one? In that case, what's E? Heavenly energies? Oh yeah, the downward. Now in this here, this is that Feynman gives it a reason for this electrostatic field. It's ions from space, right? Particles are coming in, hitting the upper atmosphere and ionizing, and so then you've got these positive ions of whatever they are. They're not just necessarily helium. They may be all sorts of things that are then falling down to Earth. So it's actually, if you're saying it's not an electrostatic field, but it's just particles that are coming down, well, you can 100% block those particles with trivial things. So a house will 100% block those particles, right? They're not. And so inside, if that's what you're claiming, WItsit, instead of an electrostatic field, right? It is in reality particles, and it creates that field. But he doesn't want to acknowledge that it's these particles. So he'll reject that. He has to, because it couldn't be from space. Everywhere WItsit goes, he contradicts himself. It's the fourth law of Flurf. All right, we've got three of them. WItsit doesn't do the second law of Flurf, at least not yet. So he's got them all. So the fourth law of Flurf is that every Flurf explanation for something contradicts some other Flurf explanation for something else. So he says it's an electrostatic field and that you can't 100% block the electrostatic field. True with a Faraday cage. But is it an electrostatic field, or is it just because it's a field of electrons? Right? Or is it ionized particles that are coming down due to interactions with cosmic rays at high elevations? If that's the case, then yes, 100% they can be blocked. So, Oz is here as Matters Now. Hello, Ozian. Anyway, let's get back to this one here
and stuff like that. But like this debate, but it was 2v2 and 1v1. And pseudonym, I was actually responding to the Globers criticizing each other. -3, come on, people. So thank you very much for your $2 super chat. And then we also have a question. I am going to give super chats like preference for questions in it for the panelists. And I think it's for the flat earthers. So, hey, we have plenty of flat earthers, I think 4 on stage. So feel free to answer. Your side claimed we can't witness Antarctica's 24-hour daylight because we're not allowed there. Can you deny the same phenomena in Norway?
It's another thing that's weird, right? Like, you guys know that flat Earth fully embraces the 24-hour sun in the north. And our entire point is there's an abundance and plethora of that being recorded nonstop, no cuts. You can go personally verify it yourself, no problem. And many people have,
just like in the South,
done it. No one's ever been claimed to be stationed there for NASA for 6 months and never seen it. But that has happened in Antarctica. So
the 24-hour sun works perfectly on a plain Earth, right? So no, we don't deny that. It's easily verifiable. You can go verify it yourself. That's kind of our whole point, is we want to be able to verify it ourselves. And yeah, we don't buy the clearly edited videos.
Oh, clearly edited videos, you say? And what might somebody say about the claim of clearly edited videos?
Burden of proof always lies with a positive claim.
True. The burden of proof always lies with the positive claim. Well, let's have a look here. Let's see. Hold on. Again.
When you make a positive claim, you have the burden of proof.
Yes, you do. So, all right, I'm going to grab something here. So if it's clearly edited, then you know, you're going to have no problem with you know, this evidence here being, you know, the clearly edited support for it. So let's hear again, WItsit.
You have the burden of proof to substantiate all of those specific positive claims.
Yeah.
In every debate, the burden of proof typically lies with the person making the claim, but it can also lie with the person denying a well-established fact or theory.
Yeah.
Now you have gotten to where you are just basically diverting the burden of proof. You're shifting the burden of proof.
That's what he does, yeah.
We don't have a model.
I know. Silly guy. Now, if you say that this is edited, then you're making a claim based on the doctrine of men.
What do you mean by religion?
A belief system built upon the doctrine of men void of empirical verifiable evidence.
Yeah. Oh, like ether, right?
Ether is an immaterial background medium of pure potential. It cannot be quantified or measured intrinsically.
It cannot be quantified or measured intrinsically. Is that a religion, WItsit?
What do you mean by religion?
A belief system built upon the doctrine of men void of empirical verifiable evidence.
It is 100% a religion, Austin. What do you have to say to that?
I'm a stupid flat earther, right? And I'm just a loser.
I can't argue against that. Yeah, if this is edited, WItsit, then you're gonna have to show the evidence for it. So anyway, all right. Let's this is on Vimeo. So I'll give you all. There you go. The audio, if anybody plays that on a live stream, the audio is copyrighted. It's the Violent Femmes song by them. So just be careful of it. You notice I muted it before I started. Anyway, so yeah, WItsit, if you're going to say this is edited, you have the burden of proof to show that it was edited.
I am planning to go, and we'll see. I just know that if I don't see it, people will either say I'm lying, or they'll say, "Oh, you just didn't see it," or you'll just say I'm lying. So I don't know.
What if you do see it?
I would honestly.
That's a great question. It falsifies flat Earth. 100% falsifies flat Earth. He knows this. Right? It's Feynman. It's Feynman all over again. Right? Oh, here I can play Feynman. Right? Hold on. All right, here it is.
I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then we well, don't laugh. That's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess to see if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to nature, or we say compare to experiment or experience. Compare it directly with observation to see if it works. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science.
That simple statement is the key to science. If it disagrees with experiment, it is wrong. So Austin, Flat Earth predicts that the sun will... Actually, the Flat Earth predicts that the sun would never set in Antarctica, but it does not predict that it would go around in a circle above your head. Flat Earth predicts that the sun would be doing ellipses far away from you and never set. And that's not what happens in Antarctica. And you know 100% what you're going to see if you were to go there.
Say that I saw it.
Thank you.
And then that would be interesting. I would have to think like, how is that possible? I would actually have to think about it, right?
An honest person would have said that would falsify my model. An honest person would have said that, but he's not honest. He's a pathological liar. This is his rice bowl, right? This is the only thing he does. And if he doesn't do this, then what's he going to do? He's going to have to find a different way to earn money. And he knows full well that if he tries to apply for a job as a guy in his 30s here, and they're going to Google his name, and they're going to find out that he's a flat earther, and he's spent the last several years lying about the shape of the earth, and being a, got some baggage to go with it. So he knows that he's not going to get a really good job. He's going to be excluded from that list. Because I can tell you, if I were hiring somebody, I write software. So if I was hiring somebody for writing software, then I would. I Google them. I find them not on LinkedIn. Right? If they're on LinkedIn, I'll find them there. But I'll find where I'll dig a little bit. And I've done this. I hope that every employer does this and find out about them. And so if I found out that somebody that wants to write software was a flat earther, I'd no, because writing software requires critical thinking, and flat earthers lack that. So, Aaron Reese says, science says you can't suffer brain death and still use a computer, and yet we still have flat earth. That's true. I don't know. Sly Sparkane, again, for €6 and 66 European pennies, says, fallacy. The flat earth argument by every word of the definition is a reification fallacy. It totally is. The reification fallacy is thinking that the model is reality, right? Without right. That's the general idea. So they'll show the map. They'll say, here's the map, and that proves it. How many flat earth videos are there that's like, here's the map, that's how it works. That's it. That's all they have, right? King of that is a flat out truth Terry R. Eicher. He's just like, here's the map, therefore it's true. That's it. Casual engineer, do a little OS int, of course I do. Starman 990 says, has WItsit ever addressed cams on SpaceX rockets from ground to orbit? Of course not. The problem, of course, is that the SpaceX rockets cameras don't go to orbit from ground to orbit. The cameras that are on SpaceX rockets, there's basically 3 views that you have. You have 2 cameras on the lower stage pointing down. And then they get up to about somewhere around 100 kilometers. And then the second stage separates. And there's that second camera is inside the top of the first stage pointing up. So you're looking up and you see that second stage separate and then move away. And then you see that the rocket on the second stage fire. And then the other set of cameras is 2 cameras on the second stage pointing down toward the actually there's 4 camera views pointing down toward the engine, the rocket engine, 2 of them, 1 on either side. Those tend to be GoPros, so they're heavily distorted. The ones on the sides also often are GoPros, but the view from inside the rocket, the bottom stage, of course, you don't see until it separates. The view of the rocket facing down, the second stage facing down, you don't see until the stage separation. And then the fourth set of cameras is often the payload cameras, which of course you don't see until the payload opens up. So the only cameras that you actually see on SpaceX are the 2 on the side that go up to about 100 kilometers, and then they come back and then they fall back down. Now, they don't go to orbit. So you don't ever see them go to orbit, but it does completely falsify flat Earth because there's a crisp horizon. You don't see the ice wall. It's 100 kilometers up. You don't see any more surface of the Earth than the globe predicts. How much surface of the Earth does flat Earth predict? Don't know. Flat Earth doesn't have a model.
We don't have a model.
If you can't make predictions, you can't ever conclude Earth flat because you don't have a model.
We don't have a model.
Yeah. So sometimes flat earthers will complain if I put a picture on my thumbnail. You know, they're like, "Oh, well, that's a straw man. Send me the correct one." Well, that's a straw man.
Flat earthers are just ignorant.
Wrong one.
We don't have a model.
If you don't have a model, then I can't straw man you. I can't misrepresent your model if you can't give me your model to represent correctly. So any model that I choose is equally accurate as the non-model that you've given me. CV McCullough says for $5 says he's expounding claims, which is a weak argument by definition. He contradicts himself. I feel for his family because this is constant in gaslighting. Yeah. Well, it was about a year ago. I did a video on him and just his psychology of him. It's not good. You know, if this flat Earth stuff falls apart for him, which it eventually will, what's he gonna do? It won't be good because he can't earn money very well. So anyway, Mercedes posted their equation above. All right. Let's see here. I'm searching for the equation from Mercedes. Pose a way to discredit preemptively my work. Hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Mercedes F1 fan. Well, and this is a good point, Mercedes. Just because it agrees with the experiment doesn't make the conclusion correct. I didn't claim that. I claim that it gives confidence to it. You do it a bunch of times, you get more confidence. And at some point, you decide, well, I have enough confidence based on many successful or failed falsifications or successful tests of it, that this one is the most correct we have, but it's always possible to be falsified. Anyway, let's see the where's the equation? G represents the contribution from planar geothermal activity influencing energy density. It looks like we're getting a little description of the stuff here. From combination atmospheric pressure, cross-sectional area. I'm not going to be able to, I can't find it. This is the end of it. So, maybe, there it is. Oh, hey, what is this? That's amazing. Let me put this in. That's actually like fancy looking stuff here. Let's get I can put that on screen here. Potentially. There we go. Let's go. Try to get it here. Make the font bigger. We got delta E over delta T. So change in E, whatever that is, with respect to time, equals, oh my goodness. What is this equation for? We got this derivative times P times A, y the parentheses, plus G, X, Y, T. All right. Yeah, it's a partial derivative. So what what is this going to be? All right, let me I can put that up. I can put that up for everybody to see. So that let's see here. Let's change this to there you go. There's the equation. So what are we supposed to do with that now? What are those variables? Let's see. We got P equals yellow stuff. Let me get it a little better in this frame there. We got A equals cross-sectional area. We got G equals gummy bears, and then X, Y, T. Those yeah, what are these here? Is this a positional thing? I don't even know what this equation is supposed to be here. G is a function of something. Yeah. Yeah, or is it how many gummy bears you can fit into your mouth over a certain amount of time? Is that it? Oh, Aaron Reese, the Flurfs are pretending to do squiggly math the same way tribes built airstrips in an attempt to summon airplanes. Oh, that's hilarious. So what are these? What are these? These, huh? What are these variables here? I don't know. Anyway, maybe we'll never know. Oh, Stringers 1 says X, Y, and Z and T are registers in an HP calculator stack. I've done 6402 assembly. We've got X and Y and A. That's all we get. X, Y, and A. Cut and paste the formula into Google. Oh, that's a good idea, Larry Scott. Brilliant idea. Let's see if it comes up with anything. Layman's College comes up with partial differential equations. Yeah, I don't see that one. It's a pretty long one there. Of course, it gets into Maxwell's equations. Let's see if this PA. No, I don't know. I don't find anything. Do I mean 60? Yes, I do mean 6502. Specifically 65C02. What computer was that? Sleet, what computer was that? All right, well, I'll keep that up. I'll keep that up for for our resident Poe. So, all right, let's get back to this here, the after show. You're right, Sleet. That's what I had. I had the Apple IIc. I would jump right into the built-in debugger and start writing assembly right in there. But nothing. That was nothing compared to the guy I knew who he wouldn't go into the debugger and start writing assembly. He would just start typing hex, right? So there's a you'd go from the command line, you'd go into a special mode to, I forget what it was, to interact more directly with the memory. You could list off parts of memory and you could put data into memory, and then from there you could go to the assembler, the mini assembler, or you could just interact with it. So he would pound out hex codes because he had all the opcodes memorized, and he'd write assembly by just typing hex. Oh, it has something to do with atmospheric pressure causing tides. Brilliant. Anyway, all right, let's finish, get more of this here going.
For sure. I openly admit that all the time. I wouldn't, no one piece of evidence at this point is going to make me just immediately change sides. But I would step back and be like, wait a minute, that matches the globe. How would that work on a flat earth? Let me reassess these other things that I think are definitive. But I feel like I've done that like maybe 300 times.
No, you've done it 0 times, WItsit.
So, I don't know. But yeah, that's how I would do it. I would live stream immediately and tell everyone. That's what I would do.
I doubt he's going to go to Antarctica at all.
If your mic is, the feedback's really bad. I was going to ask you a question about that. That's good to know that. I've already heard some people already offering apologetics for if they did see a 24-hour sun, like there's a layer where the sun's in between like dew layers or outside the dome or within 2 layers of the dome or something like that. But I'm not sure if that's like what you do, but
no, there's an interesting model that has, I think, a lot of viability. L of Tomb Illumination or Tomb of Illumination.
Oh my gosh. Tomb of Illumination is Leslie something. He's in New Zealand. He's so insane. He's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it's the same thing. It's pure reification. Everything he says, he just says stuff. This is how it works. He says that that magnetism causes light to bend and that the sun is in the middle and that it's toroid fields around it. And that's how the light, he just says, yep, that just whatever the toroid field needs to do to bend the light, that's what it does. Except that magnetism doesn't bend light.
Where you basically have like these quadrants projected out. I mean, it's actually multiple sections. And it's interesting because when you start to look at the star, certainly near the equator, it does look like there's a lot of similarities projected out and slightly distorted. It's kind of crazy.
No, it's not kind of crazy. It's not at all true. Not even one bit, WItsit.
But I don't even see how that, I don't see how that would factor into seeing the sun there. So I would love to go and see it. I think that when I went and didn't see it, that would also be substantial evidence. And I think that not one single glober would do what I just said I would do, which is step back and be like, wait a minute. If they went and didn't see it, they'd be like, oh, it must have been cloudy. Oh, it must.
WItsit, I'll tell you this right now. If I went to Antarctica at the right time of year, as predicted on the globe, and the sun wasn't up the whole time, that would be a problem. Absolutely huge problem. I will confidently say that. I would put money on that. I would happily put money on that. I have put money on stuff with it. You know that I have money in escrow for 2 things: celestial navigation, which Stereotype talked about, but certainly I didn't see a submission from Stereotype doing celestial navigation without using the globe. Right? The ancients, she thought, did it using flat earth. How did they do it? She doesn't know, obviously, because if she did, she would have been claiming the $10,000. Or gravity. The gravity one is right in your wheelhouse there, Austin. What causes the magnitude 9.8 meters per second squared downward acceleration? About all over the globe. And why does it vary? And how does your model predict its variation? I can do that. I can very clearly get super close. Actually, not even super. I'm like within 1%, 1/10 of a percent of the value. And you can't even get 9.8. You can't even explain the direction. Let's see. Can you play Michael Kuzmicki's audio he just sent? Somebody sent me audio. I'm looking. I don't see a link. Was it sent to my email? No. I don't see it on Discord. I don't know what you're talking about. Twitch. So, all right, maybe clarify that a little bit.
It's just whatever. Like, That's what I think, but I think it should go either way. You know, I think if you go as a globe earther during their summer, you should see it. Like, no questions asked. Like, you go to the north, you see it. And I don't know, bro. I've personally talked to someone that worked with NASA. That's an actual person. That's not some story I made up. He's going to come on my show. He worked with NASA, was stationed in Antarctica for 6 months for NASA. And he said not one single time in that entire 6 months did he see the sun in the sky for 24 hours, but he did see daylight.
And there you go. Clouds don't falsify it. If there's daylight, you need to explain it. The more of the problem is, of course, the direction, right? Let's go back here. All right. I've got some markings on this one, but where was he? I don't know. If he was there for NASA, he was maybe down in south of South America there. So if he saw daylight when he was there for 24 hours, right? When the sun is over here, over Australia, and this whole portion of the Earth is dark, how is it not dark there? You need to explain that with actual plausible mechanisms, not just guesses, not just magnetism makes it bend, not just I'm going to put an acrylic dome over the top of this that has a higher index of refraction than air, and then look at it from the outside where the lower of index of refraction is and have a light on the outside. No, that doesn't make sense. That's the opposite of reality. You don't claim that inside the dome has a 1.5 index of refraction and outside is 1.0. Right? If anything, you claim the opposite of it. Right? That it's somehow the dome is on the outside and then inside is the air, and or for most of it, not air, nothing. Doesn't match. You need to explain it.
For 24 hours. He made it very clear, and he ended up becoming a flat earther. So
I know who he's talking about. I have a debate in the wings with him.
I don't know what Globers do when they hear stuff like that. They convince themselves I'm lying, they're lying, whatever. But yeah, man.
You're lying, Austin.
No, it's just an argument about medical deal. There's a logic
You're
fallacy.
roboting Leo really bad, but
so Flat Earth does have a response for how it could be. You say you can't see the sun, but it maintains daylight for 24 hours. You do have a justification for that in a Flat Earth model?
Welcome, Grayson, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
That's based theory.
You never heard the flat Earth answer for the 24-hour daylight?
In the North Pole, like in the Arctic, I have, but not in like the Southern Hemisphere, like Ushuaia in Argentina.
Yeah, the coffee cup caustic. So if you have some type of dome container, light will reflect all the way around the outside of it. It can be replicated to perfectly match.
No, it doesn't perfectly match, you idiot. The coffee cup caustic. I don't know what caustic. Why caustic? Why does he say caustic? All right, here's they take this and then they shine from outside of it to the wall. All right, let me get that here. The toward a model for bimodal metabistrubal defense matrices. They have a flashlight here on the outside, out here, that shines against the wall, right? And then that reflects onto the bottom. The problem is that doesn't explain any of it. It doesn't. The sun still would. It doesn't make sense. because then how do you make it shine only on the June, right? 6 months plus or minus 3 months from June. How does that work? Is the flashlight now inside again? Well, you would see it all year long. All day long, everybody would see it. Now it has to be some sort of a spotlight that only see, but it's high above it. Why isn't it reflecting off of the walls anymore? What they've done is they've taken it one thing. It's the fourth law of Flerf. This Flerf explanation contradicts all the other Flerf explanations. It doesn't actually work. C.V. McCullough says expounding claims with an anecdotal evidence. Sure. It's a desperation move to keep his religious cult alive. That's what it is. It doesn't work, Austin. It doesn't work.
We observe what no one really seems to be able to answer is if you saw the sun itself. If you don't see the sun itself, but you only see the light, that should be very interesting to people.
But you do see the sun itself. You do. You actually just see the sun itself. And if it's reflecting off something, then you would see both the reflection and the sun, and they wouldn't be next to each other. They'd be dramatically far apart from each other. Unless, like, the sun was, like, right next to that reflective surface that you're inventing.
It's not, though.
So
really.
You said I should Google coffee cup caustic? Is that what you said?
Yes, it's just a phenomena where it's say if you take a coffee cup and you put it in the light from the window, what you'll see is that the light will wrap all the way around the circle, the interior circle.
I've seen
Wait, I thought
on Twitter.
I thought that the sun was inside the dome.
Well, okay. That
fourth law.
Why would that not work though? It's just the fact if there's a circular shape, it would wrap all around. Of course,
But
my
you're-
actual position is that there's
If it was inside, the coffee cup, then everywhere would be reflecting off of all of those inside walls, not just one point. It's so dumb. So dumb.
7 layers to it. There's 7 layers to the containment, and
7
that the sun is
layers?
in one of the lower ones. I would actually say that it goes moon, sun, stars, and that's why the sidereal motions of all the 3 are faster the further you go away. And that's why the sidereal rotation measurements with interferometry get faster the higher you go.
It's just making crap up. Here's right there. Look at that. All right. So there, he says it matches exactly. That doesn't match exactly. It's nothing. I don't know. This doesn't look like it's a flatty channel here. So yeah, so we see light is reaching the cup from the direction of the handle as being reflected from the cylindrical internal surface of the cup as is visualized in the image below. Okay, so math, physics, I don't know. Come on, jump ahead here. I want to see you scroll. Okay. There it is. All right, so there's the reflection. So but that doesn't explain summers in the northern hemisphere. Right? It contradicts summers in the northern hemisphere. Right? They got, oh, look at the pattern. The pattern looks similar. Therefore it is. That's it. It's if it looks the same, it has to be the same. That's it. Oh, there's math. There's math, Austin, run. All right.
I would say they're all within different layers. That's what all the ancients said. That's what the evidence seemed to suggest. So that's what.
Oh, what fallacy was that, Witsit? What fallacy was that?
There are tons of ancient cosmologies and religions that say the Earth is a stationary plane.
An ad populum fallacy, Austin.
I currently think it works perfectly on a flat Earth. Coffee cup.
No, it doesn't.
Coffee cup cost.
Not even tiny bit.
Okay, I do want to get the other flat earthers a chance, Mercedes and whatnot, to the super chat. Does anybody disagree with Witsit on that, or want to add any other comments?
I mean,
come on, stereotype, answer it.
There's one. The whole thing is assuming that there is a dome, but we don't have any even a priori reasons to suppose that. So that's a greater assumption that the model has to make over the model we currently have, which makes it less simple and so less preferable.
Yeah,
I mean, just basic scientific Bayesian reasoning.
It can't be that though, because all civilizations across the earth, no matter religion, regardless of anything, all depicted a solid dome going over the earth.
Good job, stereotype, with the perfect ad populum fallacy.
So that's kind of a fallacy to state.
They
that,
also
to be
all
honest.
believed that there was a life force that kept things alive, and we now know that's not the case. There is no.
You said there was no a priori
How have you disproven
evidence.
the fact that there's
So
not a life
what I'm
force
saying
keeping
is that
things
the
alive?
fact that a bunch of people said something throughout history that we've already scientifically falsified, it doesn't matter what they said.
Well, I
don't care
agree
what
that
they
just
say.
the fact that they thought it doesn't necessarily matter, but you said there was no a priori evidence, but you know that the flat earth position specifically does invoke that. They say that the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is physical containment. You guys say no.
That's your claim, Austin. And that claim is a little bit of a problem. It's a affirming the consequent.
That doesn't have anything to do with what I was referring to. So I can grant you that. I can grant you you're correct there, but it's not relevant to the point that I was making.
No, that's what we're saying is evidence that there's something physically containing the earth, is that itself. People also say the reflection of a rainbow. Also say the physical Gaussian surface antecedent for the vertical electric field that's uniformly distributed.
You know what? You know where Austin's from. He's from Tennessee. And I was almost a year ago. I was in Tennessee. I was in Tennessee in December, but I was also in Tennessee back in February last year. And when we were in Tennessee in February last year, we went to a underground cave. And in that cave is a waterfall. It's called Ruby Falls. It's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And according to WItSit's Gaussian surface claim, let's get that this picture back up here. Here's what he says, right? This was his picture, and which falsifies him. But let's give it for a second here that this top one, this A here version, the top one, where you've got the ground. Well, what's underneath that physical Gaussian surface, right? What's the charge underneath that physical Gaussian surface? Well, it's certainly not E, right? You see the letter E there on the field. That's not the case because it's on the other side of the physical Gaussian surface. So when you're under the ground in a cave, according to WItsit, there should either be no vector or maybe the vector is up now. But when I was in the cave, I can assure you that I was neither floating nor was I walking on the ceiling like Cool in the Gang. So that doesn't work, WItsit. It's falsified. So all of these things that you talk about, the gas pressure containment, the natural antecedent of gas pressure is a container, that is an affirming the consequent fallacy, right? You've declared it. You've said it's thus, therefore it must be thus. That is an ipsy-dixit fallacy. And then when we ask, well, how is that the case? You'll say, well, do you have an example of a pressure not having a container? Well, yes, but I can falsify that. But that right there is the affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, therefore P. That's what you're saying. Gas pressure, container, container, gas pressure. That's what it is. If container, then gas pressure, therefore container. That's what he's saying. Must have a container, and that's not the case at all. That's the affirming the consequent fallacy. But can you have gas pressure? Well, we claim gas pressure differential, so don't straw man the globe. We claim a gas pressure differential between here and far, far up that direction. There's still positive pressure everywhere. So all we claim is a differential. Can you have a gas pressure differential without a container? Of course you can. I can measure it in the room right now with the pressureometer on my phone. You might also call it a barometer. Or you can have them. You could look at larger examples of that. The hurricanes are a pretty good size pressure differential. You can have on the top and bottom of wings of airplanes are pressure differentials. You can, from the top floor of your house to the bottom of your house, you can go from the top of a mountain to the ocean. All those are pressure differentials. That's what we claim. Don't straw man. That's what we claim. So, Steve Bauman says, why would 24-hour sunlight in Antarctica prove anything to a flurf when the fact that it gets dark at night anywhere on Earth doesn't? They obviously don't know how light works anyway. Yes. Well, and Steve Bauman, it's more about the direction. So let's say you're in Antarctica, but you're not right at the South Celestial Pole or South Geographic Pole, right? Let's say you're in Union Glacier, where Mr. Beast went, which is well enough inside the Antarctic Circle to get 24 hours of daylight for multiple, several weeks or months in a row. On flat Earth demands that if you're down there, if you're here, right, and that the sun is doing circles there, then let's put you the camera, right? The sun, you're looking north now, right? The sun has to do this. It has to do circles north of you, right? A little bit east and west, it's doing ellipses, not circles. You'd see it as an ellipse, right? But if you looked due south and saw it, right? So if you're here and you looked that direction here and saw the sun, well, the sun on flat Earth is never here. The sun on flat Earth is here. It could never be due south of you, or even, in any strong angle that's not north. So that's how it would falsify it. Ken'sWrong.com. Love that. Why Ken Wheeler's wrong? That's a lot. I'll have to look at that later. Thank you, Mandelbrot. So yeah, in fact, the fact that the sun sets at all is a falsification of flat Earth, and they can't provide an explanation for it. They're like, oh, well, when I say explanation, I mean plausible mechanism with predictability, right? As Feynman said, right? When will it set? What direction will it set? Can you answer those? No, you can't. Because, why not? Because you don't have a model.
We don't have a model.
If you had a model, then you could have predictability. But since you don't have a model, you showed up to the race without a horse. That's the thing, right? You cannot say the Earth is flat if you can't answer. You have to answer all the questions we answer better. No question about that. You have to answer every question we answer better. You can't answer one, not one. What time will the sun set tomorrow? For any position you pick, what time will the sun set? You don't know. What angle in the sky will the sun be at local solar noon? For any location on the Earth, you don't know. You don't know. What keeps the sun up? You don't know. What's the sun made of? You don't know. What keeps the moon up? What's it made of? You don't know. What causes the phases of the moon to be seen the same no matter where you are on the Earth, even if you're on opposite sides of the moon for flat Earth? You don't know. What's the mechanism by which the sun produces its heat and light? You don't know. What's the actual magnitude, the predicted magnitude of the downward acceleration for your explanation? You don't know. Why does according to WItsit, why don't you float up when you're underneath the physical Gaussian surface when you're in a cave? You don't know. You can't answer anything. And flat earthers like, oh, you expect us to answer absolutely everything. Well, you've had longer than we have. Why do I say that you've had longer than we have?
There are tons of ancient cosmologies and religions that say the Earth is a stationary plane.
That's why. Because you are correct that ancient cultures and cosmologies did make the claim. So you've had longer than we have. And you can't answer one thing. I don't know. Sure, you can't answer everything. I get it. Answer one. You can't answer one. Not one. What can you? Flatties, what can you actually answer? You can't tell me why tides happen. You can't tell me when the high tide or low tide is. The list of things you can't even touch goes on and on and on. And that's why you use the template. The template of globe predicts, not globe. Observation doesn't match, not globe. Therefore flat. You have to do that because that's the only way for you to come about any of this. How high is the sun? You don't know. How far away is it? You don't know. How big is the Earth? You don't know. Everything is you don't know. And that's why these debates are funny. It's funny because you can't answer anything at all ever. And when I say answer, I don't mean say a bunch of words. I mean really answer it. What time will the sun set? What is the mass of the sun? What is the diameter of the sun? How high is it above the surface of the earth? What causes the radius of the sun's orbit over flat earth to increase and decrease? And some people say it increases and decreases in elevation. Okay, what causes that? They'll say Earth is flat by default position. It is not. No, in fact, no. Earth is, if anything, Earth is nothing by default position. But in reality, when you're making arguments about this, it's a little bit different than that.
In every debate, the burden of proof typically lies with the person making the claim, but it can also lie with the person denying a well-established fact or theory.
So that's WItsit himself reading that, and that's the case. I am happy. I'm happy to not hold that position and say we both enter into it from a position of neutralness, of nothing, right? I'm happy to enter into that. Now you need to make the case for flat Earth. You don't need to talk about the globe at all. As soon as you start talking about the globe, you are done. Don't tell me what the globe predicts and then get it wrong. Aaron Reese says their arrogance causes them to confuse "it doesn't make sense to me" with "it doesn't make sense at all." Oh yeah. Taboo Conspiracy does that all the time. He's too stupid to understand anything about the globe. He's so dumb. Taboo Conspiracy is mindlessly stupid. I can't understand how he can function day to day. That's how dumb Taboo Conspiracy is. He doesn't get anything right. Never. He never gets anything right. So, how many subs do I need for 20,000? Oh yeah, because I'm close to 20,000 subs. Okay, let me check. I'm at 19987. So I need 13 subs. So if you're watching, you haven't subscribed to me, give me a sub, and then I'll cross 20,000. So all right, I've been going 2.5 hours. So, I'm gonna wrap it here, and because tomorrow's I got a busy schedule tomorrow too. So tomorrow I have 2 for sure, maybe 3. So the top left kickoff, as I mentioned, and then Matters Now will be joining me tomorrow for the Caleb review. And then potentially Brian Sweet 1970 from Twitter, X, will be here, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to chicken out, even though he agreed to. And if he does chicken out, I got a plan. So. Aaron Reese, most flirts survive on the premise that you won't die if you get the food in the correct hole at least half the time. Oh, that's funny. All right. So, all right. Thank you for this, for joining me, all 430 of you. Get ready for tomorrow. Be thinking, who is it that really earned the top left, the arrogant and wrong, and oblivious about it. So, let's see. Anything you've got to say as we head out, Austin?
Fraction, which we immediately and adamantly claim is always present because there's temperature fluctuation and atmospheric conditions that are consistently affecting what you perceive.
I got it. So anyway, thanks a lot, Austin.
Refraction always happens. That's why it's important.
Thanks for jumping in there, Austin.
I'm a stupid flat earther, right? And I'm just a loser.
All right, dude.
Pigs look gorgeous and cows are beautiful. I love the look of cows. You flat earthers are demented.
All right, people. See you tomorrow. Here we go.
MC2. I mean, I think I'm stupid.
All right. Let it flow. Let yourself go. So I know that is the tempo.
So, yeah, let's do this. So.
Let's do this.
Yo,
thanks Twitch. Twitch says flat earthers are all top. Their times are decent, but they'll swoon in the face of my logic like a deflated balloon.
Oh, MC2, the one soon cartoons. On your real say, send it first to their views. Your theories are like old brooms, sweeping ignorance or just spreading the views.
FDFE stands for fumbling the facts, evidently. I drop truth bombs so splendidly. Your approach is soft, mine's unrelenting. I bring the science while you're just venting.
MC2, the platoon with silver spoon. I tackle pseudoscience, make them change their tune. You're the sidekick, I'm the room. When it comes to debunking, I'm the room.
Stephen McCullers says for $5, 2024, and we're doing this. Proof that half the world is below average. It hurts me. That's why I'm here. I guess reality is subjective. Thank you, Stevie McCuller.
Though in this rap, it's clear indeed. I've got the upper hand, then word indeed.
All right, hold on a second. The Zoom call died. Everything died. No.